and we are here with David for his film Swipe NYC. Hi, David. Welcome. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Can we hear a little bit about the film?
Yeah, so Swipe NYC, it's a Brookyn-based dramedy about the Sid, played by Lisa Edelstein, and it's really a post-divorce empty nester who has to go back into the dating world after 20 plus years of marriage and reinvent herself.
And you also acted and produced in this film, right?
I did. It's my first production as my first producer by title, and it was, and I acted in it as well, which was really a pleasure. The people that we ended up getting in the movie, Lisa Edelstein, who's phenomenal, and in the film. Richard Schiff, of course, Bridget Moynihan, who also produced it with me, and David Walton, Omari Chancellor, Justin McManus. It was an incredible group of people that we got an ensemble together to really come in and do it for the love of art.
So, cinematography for actors, we are all about bridging the gap between talent and crew.
Uh-huh.
And so now you've done both. Being an actor and working on the crew side, were there any technicalities you realized that, affected your performance in terms of a budget or camera package or working with the cinematographer? Can you speak to being an actor and working with some of the setups and the shots?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the great things about producing, and as you know, in any kind of production, it's really an ensemble piece, not only from the cast, but from the crew. And we were really blessed to get an incredible crew of some very experienced crew members and some incredible talented crew members that just hadn't been discovered yet. And we actively seek them out through other short films and other independent films that we've done in the past. But as an actor, it was interesting because I realized how important it was to really surround yourselves with people that really they could do their job, wanted to do their job, and were willing to do the job. They had the will and the skill and the talent. And so for me, it was, one of the first producers that we brought on, Cheryl Bear, who's very experienced in television and feature films, and she was kind of like the senior in terms of producer. And then Heather Sederquist, and who was had a lot of experience in commercials and music videos. So she, as well as one of our co-producers, did a lot of the work that's really getting permits and filing paperwork with SAG. We were very adamant about doing this within the budget that we were allowed to do as a short film under the SAG
short
contracts.
Film agreement.
And one of the reasons why we love this film festival in particular is because it's so supportive of SAG, AFTRA, and the WGA. Our director is a WGA member as well as a Directors Guild member, and then we had all SAG actors. And so there's guidelines with that of how much you can spend, how long it can be, and we had to work with that. And then the rest of it is a lot of people putting in blood, sweat, and tears. And then Sue Zarko Kramer, who's really, this is the story. This is her story. It's very personal about her relaunching into the world of dating after her divorce, and a very personal story for her, and a wonderfully beautiful and hilarious story of her going around in her neighborhood and bringing in all the vendors and all the people in Brooklyn to help support the film as neighbors, because Brooklyn, where the film takes place, is a character in itself of the film.
Yeah. So knowing that Brooklyn is a character in and of itself, what was it like during prep with the camera department, with the cinematographer, to capture that character?
Well, so we got this incredible cinematographer, Alex Haas, and he's out of NYU, and he was actually he rolled up his sleeves and jumped in, and he brought on his team. And along with Sue, they went around and discussed how they wanted to visually articulate Brooklyn, storyboarding and those things. And it was something that they worked really diligently on, and they worked on it for a long time.
I have a question. So as an actor, when you're on set, how do you turn off your producer brain and then turn on your actor brain when you're on set?
Well, first of all, I surrounded myself, and it wasn't all up to me, but I had an incredible producing team.
So
and
not
to go into gender, but I was the only guy.
Okay.
So I had these incredible, powerful, and it was just intelligent, talented, empathetic, and amazing women that were just fabulous. And so they just said, David, you do your thing and we'll do our thing, and I love you.
So you were able to pretty much turn it off when the cameras start rolling and you hear action. You're not thinking about, okay, the camera is there, we are due on this time, we're
not
maybe
at all.
not
The acting was
day.
actually the easiest part, and I only had to shoot 2 days, so we shot in 4 days. So the 2 days that we weren't shooting, believe me, I was doing what you do, which includes loading the grip truck,
right?
Which includes making sure that we're running a little over, let me go run up and grab a bunch of pizzas for everybody, whatever needs to be done, which we all do on these independent projects, what makes them great.
Yeah, and have you ever had training in terms of what do you know about cinematography in the camera department? Because as an actor myself, I find I go on set and I've taken so many acting classes and scene study classes, but I don't have a lot of knowledge about lenses and camera bodies, and that's what I'm craving. Do you find you want to learn more about that, or you've just absorbed it from producing? Has it influenced your acting at all?
It's definitely influenced my acting, especially being on the big screen, because acting on film is very different than acting on stage, where you can really see everything.
Yeah.
And so I like to think that there's no when there's bad acting on theater, sometimes you don't see it.
Right.
But when you're blown up on that screen there, you see everything. And so it's really just being curious and talking and asking. So it starts from the top down. It starts in the beginning with discussions of, Alexa or Red and or Sony. And then we start getting into lens discussions and softness and different and lighting and then I pick that up, and then I'll have those conversations. Obviously not on set because we're working.
Right.
Once the game starts, we're on. But off, definitely. And when I watch these films at these festivals, I'm always looking at the cinematography, always looking at who the cinematographer is. As a matter of fact, whenever I go to the festivals and I see something that I like, the very first thing I do, I look at who the director is, but I look at the cinematographer, and I'm infamous now. In the last couple months, we've been doing this to go out and get the cinematographer and get their information, because I want to hire them as a producer.
Absolutely. That was my next question: is how involved are you with the hiring of the cinematographer, and how much prep conversations and meetings do you have versus the director?
So with this, I have no expertise on it, so I'm not going to pretend. I can look at something and intuitively say yes or no. My wife and Heather Sederquist, the executive producer, great experience with that. Obviously, Sue Zarko-Kramer, who is the director, and it's her vision, and she knows the tone and how she wants to articulate this story. She's the boss, and so you just put suggestions. She has her list. If she can get her list, great. If she can't get her list, putting options in front of her that work for her. And then it's really up to them, because they have to be able to speak a language together that kind of like a director and an actor speaks a language. Everybody has to have a shorthand.
Yeah.
And when you're coming together on these films, especially these short films, everybody's giving so much of their time and their talent for a lot of times next to nothing, that they have to have that. And a lot, and it has to do with availability and all those things. But it's a beautiful fluidity that happens, and you start building this tribe around you of people, and I see that going back to, as a producer, being an incredibly important skill to have. And then look, as an actor, we're in the world of self-tapes now.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, but when I started, I had no idea why I got hired. And I had no idea. I walked into a room, and then I got a phone call saying I was hired. My agents didn't know how good I was unless I got hired.
You couldn't watch the tape back.
Now I can look at the tape, and now I can look at the camera, and I could say, okay, how's my eye line here? Okay, I'm tight like this. How does it look here? Do you want me above horizon? Do you want me below horizon? And I have that conversation, once we get it set up. Okay, it's great that you're right there and I'm doing the scene with you, but it actually looks better for the camera if I'm looking right here. So we'll go ahead and do that, and me learning how to build that world and those relationships to do it. But ultimately, if it doesn't translate, I have to do what I do, but it has to look
And now, did
good.
you do a lot of self-tapes to cast, or was it...
For us?
Yeah, for the film.
No, Sue had her idea. She put lists in front, and we went out to people. And then there, Omari, with the exception of Omari Chancellor and Angela Wong Carbone, who I didn't mention, who's also wonderful in our film. They came through a casting director and one other actor who was incredible, and Aaron, who we came across and we felt like we needed. That's the other thing, those relationships. We had them send in, and as a matter of fact, Omari we cast him off of a film that he did as a director, writer, actor out of NYU.
Now, when can we see the film? Because I know we're going to wrap up in a little bit, but when is your film screening?
We were on opening night.
Great! Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I can't wait to watch it.
Thanks.
And thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. David Kelsey.
This has been another special episode of the Cinematography for Actors podcast. We are here live at the 19th annual Oscar qualifying HollyShorts Film Festival through August 20th. Follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts, and if you are here at the festival, come up to the VIP lounge and say hi.
We also want to give a huge thank you and shout out to our sponsors, which we have so many to help us put this together, and that is Apogee Film Tools, Roscoe, Lightstone Rentals, Canon, and First Mile Technology for the awesome Wi-Fi hookup. As a special gift to our CFA listeners, we have partnered with a company called We Make Movies, you may be familiar with them, to offer discounted production services, including access to comprehensive production insurance and workers' comp for your next shoot. Visit wemakemovies.org/insurance and use code CFA23 on your next intake form for 10% off your quote. We are making filmmaking more accessible. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time on the Cinematography for Actors podcast. Thanks all. Bye.